In the previous video, we discussed physics control and how we can use it to generate physical and procedural hit reaction. In this video, we will explore how to attach objects to our character, allowing you to attach any physical object. This feature can also be used to enable character dragging with the same functionality in your game. So now we are going to work on the tutorial. So first of all, go into your games, select one of the templates and select your project location, and then let's give it a name. So here, name whatever you want to name it, and let's create. So once you have opened up your Unreal Engine project, then you can move around and do your stuff. If you have watched my previous video on how you can make a physics control asset and components, then you can go over to the content drawer and you will see that folder over here. And let's say that you make a new project, or you go into an existing project and it's completely different from the one where we created everything. So what you can do is go to that project, then double click on the project. So wherever you created your physics component, you're going to open up that project, go into content drawer and locate where you have that physics control system. Now what we are going to do is make sure that we contain everything inside it, and then right click on the folder and hit migrate. And then if the migrate asset report looks like this, that means your physical component is completely independent and can be moved to different projects. So as you see in this, we are just going to hit OK. And now it will ask us where we actually want to put this folder in, or where we want to migrate this folder to. How you can select that is go back to your new project or some other project, select any folder in your content, and then right click and say show in Explorer. When you do that, you will see that you have a path. As soon as you do that, you can see that you have a physics control system folder in your new or other projects. Now we can double click on this, and I might have a few things here. If your project also shows this error, it's because of that we didn't enable the physics control plugin. So make sure you do that. Now we are back into our project, and now if we double click on it, it still is not working, even though we have enabled everything. So we are going to delete this, import it again, and select folder. And now if you open it up, as you can see, everything is as we expect them to be. So once you do this, you will have everything. If you go to limb set of data, you will have all the default values that we expected. Now once you have it, I also put these two here, and I also put the components for the simple cube here. You can do them simply just by clicking on the component that is related to one category, and then go to category, select one, or if you want to make new, just click over here and type it. Now these two things, we might need them in future if we are trying to do some Boolean work with the system, but for now we don't really want to do this. So now go to content and then to third person blueprint and your third person character. Right now, because this is a completely new project, we are not implementing anything related to the physics control. We have to go to construction script and do all of those things. So firstly, add physics control systems. The physics component, then physics control. Grab the component, that physics control, that select and match component. With these value back. And compile and save. And if your physics control component is using like a custom event, like initialize physics, then you have to go to your characters begin play and put that in there. So right click, then begin play, and then get your physics component and say initialize physics. So go back here and make this around 9 or something. Now you can collide with stuff. As you can see, it's doing the physics component stuff. Alright. So now we are in new project. We have our physics component already enabled, and we have our new character, completely new character, using it. Now what we have to do is go into your world and let's create a simple shape. But now we are going to work with a cylinder. In details, go to scale, and we're going to scale it down to 0.01 and 0.01. In z-axis, we actually want this to be 2. So now this is kind of like a stick that we want to hold in our hand with the physics component. Make sure that this is connected to a physics component. We are going to enable simulate physics and give it a mass of, let's say, 2, and enable gravity. So if we play, this should just fall. If it's not falling correctly, you can tilt it somewhat, and it should just fall right in. And if you think this is really light, then just go into mass and increase it by some things. By some value, and it will feel more weighted, basically. It depends on you which kind of behavior you want from your objects. So now we have our pole. The next thing we want to do is go to your third person character, and we're going to make a key event. So key, let's say, every time we press R, we want to do a sphere trace. And this will be a sphere trace for object. From here, we are going to grab the object types and say make array. And here we are going to choose for physics parties. Then we're going to grab our mesh component and get world location. We're going to plug this in start. Then we're going to add about 100 in z-axis and put that in end. So every time we do the sphere trace, it's going to trace for physics bodies around this area. So we can see this if we go play, and every time I press R, it's going to do a sphere trace. Right now the radius is 0, so that's why it's looking like a line. So here you can increase the radius to, let's say, 15, and it should work. Now it is kind of creating a sphere trace, and this sphere trace is reading for any physics body in the world. Let's also make this radius to be something like 50, because we want to actually trace for objects away from us, not just below us. In here, in the actors to ignore, you also can make array and say for yourself. So this sphere trace never actually takes in anything from these components. And let's say when we do trace it in the return value, if we do trace something, we're going to get from the hit and then click on break hit result, and from here we're going to get the hit actor, and then we are going to print it. So print string the hit actor and print it. Now if this is a physics body, you see that we are getting a cylinder, the printing. And if something isn't, it's not going to show. If you are using third-person template, then you have these cubes around, and these cubes are also physics bodies. So if you click R, it will say SM cube. Let's see if we can get up on one. Okay, I stand him to. So now we are actually getting the cylinder. That means we can interact with it. Now how you are actually going to interact with this? So grab your physics control from your character, and here we are going to create a control. So create control. Get it true. Put this in create control, and if you are using, let's say, a skeleton mesh, go to your hit actor and search for get component by class, and in here in component class you need to search for get skeleton mesh. Right, this one, and then you have to connect this to the parent component. This is in the case if you want to get a skeleton mesh reaction, but in this case we only have a cylinder, so we don't want this. What we want is the hit component, and just place this in the parent component. If you are not using any skeleton mesh, then there is no parent bone name, so leave it at none. But if you are using skeleton mesh, then go over to the hit break result and you will see hit bone name, and just grab it and put that in the parent bone name. You can do this similarly, because if your interacted object doesn't contain any bone name, it will by default be none. So it's basically the same thing. So yeah, you can keep it as that. Then in the child component, we will actually want our mesh to be, so get our mesh, put that in child component. And then in child bone name, we want to specify like which bone we actually want the object to attach. Here we want the object to attach to hand L. After this, we are going to create the control data. So take the node and say make this control data. Now, if you, let's say that you are holding a stick, right? In that, we don't want the stick to move in linear or angular so much. So in linear strength, we can just go for something way more, like 50. You can go with 100 or 1000. In angular strength, we are also going with 50. In here, if you are using simply a static mesh component, uncheck this. But if you are using a skeleton mesh, then check this. Here we are using a cylinder, so we don't want to do this. And then just close this window. In control target, we really don't want to change anything, but you can get it and make this control target. And compile. And save, and that should be all. Now if we go towards a object and press R, it will go and try to attach to it, but as we know that our hand is doing physics control, and the cylinder also is being influenced by the gravity. And even if it is not being influenced by the gravity, it's getting influenced by the hand. And whenever we move, the cylinder is going to move with us. Now, one thing that we actually do want is for the cylinder to not collide with our camera. So go to collision. So if anytime you want some object to not collide with your camera, go to collision, select the preset and make this custom, and go to trace response and close camera. And now it should not collide with our camera. Now, if you are looking towards this kind of reaction from your object, and when you hold them, it's completely fine. You can have them. But mostly you don't want to have that. So what we are going to do, after we attach these to our hand, we want our hand, character's hand, to be kinematic and not be simulated. So go over to create control, and then I'm going to make a for each loop. And it would be better if you are actually using kinematic for everything in your character and not just hand. And I will show you why. So if you go over here, say make an array, then go to your loop body, grab your physics control, say set body modifier data, put them together, connect this again, and in here we want the hand L and then hand R. And in the modifier data, we are just going to right click on this and say split pin, And in here we want this to be kinematics. We want the collision to be enabled, and we want gravity to be 1 and everything as it is. So right now our hand, whenever we pick it, will be using kinematics. So if we go over here and do normal stuff, then oh my god. So right now they are using physical controls. But if we go over here and press R, now the cylinder will not move in a lot of places and just stay as we intend via the the animation of the character. So this is the idle animation, and this is when the character moves. And as you can see, this is actually a really good effect. So if we are moving, the cylinder is actually colliding with the head, and our character's head is moving side by side each time it gets collided. So it is a really good effect. But sometimes it could glitch. So sometimes if we go over here, so sometimes what could happen, like just this cylinder is actually colliding with the leg and making these impulses, or it could be that this cylinder gets like fixed. I don't know how to explain this, but let's say that we pause it and we move the cylinder. So what possibly could happen is, before you pick it up, it could go over to your let's say elbow and stuck there. Then your hand is trying to attach to this point, but also your elbow is inside the cylinder at this point. So it will create some weird effect. I don't know. So it could create some weird effects. So press R and it will get on there. Now if you don't want that to happen, just delete the make array, grab your mesh, and from mesh get all socket names and put that in array. And as you do that, you can interact with everything, and if you press R, it gets selected, and now our head doesn't do that weird movement, and no weird effects. Like if we go, actually the cylinder is moving really weirdly, and that is probably because the cylinder, we want to do few collision stuff with the hand. So what we want to do is, when our mesh do attach this, right after setting all of these things, we are going to get and say that collision So you might think, okay, what's the best way to do this? And the best way to do this is by using a object trace. So if you go to edit and then go to project settings, we can search for objects, just object. And in here we can create new channels for new objects. Create new, and we are going to name this child physics. You can name it anything you want. The default response is actually going to be blocked, and then you can also put this as a no. Default response is a no and accept. So right now, everything in the world is ignoring that object type. Now, firstly, that object type is physics body, and that's why we are actually getting it. And after we complete this, we are going to give it a delay. And after the delay, we are going to set collision collision object type of this component to be child physics. And what we want to do is, in our mesh, because it is ignoring the child physics, it's not actually going to get collided with the child physics or the cylinder. So if we go back here, press R, it gets attached. Now it's following the mesh movement, but it's actually not colliding with the mesh. Now we have it, and now we can move around, and we have the component. Now you might ask how we actually leave this component. I mean, we attached it, now we actually want to remove this. We want to hold something else like that. So how you can do this is, here we say set, but what we actually going to do is, in this set we are going to name this, and this is the grabbed grabbed. And when you do this, let's say after let's give it a delay for 5 seconds, and after this we are going to get the physics control and set control in set enabled. So this one, set controls in set enabled. And in here we are going to give the same set name, which is grabbed, and uncheck the enabled. So after 5 seconds we are going to leave the control. Press R, and after 5 seconds we just leave the object. Right now the object is going like through Earth, but to change all of those things we can go back to the collision object type, place it here, and then as soon as we do this we put this back to physics body. And this is actually happening because we set everything to ignore the child physics. That means the static objects in the world, the world itself, everything in your world is actually ignoring that property. So go back and set this back to physics. And you really don't have to do this if you do like how your object reacts without you colliding with it. Or else you can go back to edit your project settings, go back to your object, and let's say that you actually do want the grabbed object to react to the world, but you don't want to react it to the, let's say, mesh of your character. Then you can go over here, press edit, and make this block everything. And then you can go to your third person character, go inside mesh, and physically just change this back to no. So now your mesh is not colliding with it, but everything else in the world is colliding with it. So now compile, save everything, go back to play, press R, and now it's not colliding with our arm, following the animation, and then getting pulled back to the ground. Now this thing actually is just the mass of the cylinder is really low, and that's why this is happening. So you can go to the physics and give it a mass. Give something like 100. It should work now. And after 5 seconds, it's going to drop it. And not only like a cylinder or something, you can grab anything basically. Oh my god. Camera collision. So now if you do want to, you can have it, but for some reason our character doesn't move with him. So now you can see that we can grab stuff, we can move, and just because of this, go back to your third person character in the capsule and also ignore child physics. Now we should be able to move. Yeah. Okay, so now we can grab stuff and put it down. Let's put the deploying stuff to a key. So remove the delay and grab this stuff and move it over here. Then we are going to get from the R, we're going to get released and put it right here. So now what we are doing, when we press R, we are going to grab the stuff. Then when we release R, okay, then it's going to drop the stuff. When we press R and hold it, we have the pole, and then when we release R, it's going to drop the pole. Now we have a functionality to grab some things. Now as you saw in here, okay, not physics party anymore. Trying to read call property hit component. No, that is not. Why is it not doing that? We're setting the set collision object type to physics party here. Oh, it's because of the delay. We actually want this to be active. So sometimes fingers can be faster, but tick is not, because it kind of happens every single time. Grab it again. So if you just even click it, you can grab it back. While if you put it on delay, what actually was happening is that when you were trying to put this on delay, you actually left it, put this as physics party, and then the delay send it and set this as child physics. So now what we have to do is affects this hand placement. As you can see, the hand is actually going through the pole, and we actually want to hold the pole instead. We are going to put -5 here, and let's make this -2.5, and let's make y to be something like 5. So after some testing, this is the position that I think is the best one. For this tutorial, you can tweak them as much as you want. Now, you don't really want a physics object in the world to get picked up. What you actually want is an actor to get picked up. Go to content row, go to content. You can go inside level prototyping or create a new folder for your world actors. I'm just going to create one right outside. So right click, go to blueprint, select actor, and we are going to say star S0. Then add cylinder SYL cylinder to this. Make sure to put the cylinder in default scene root. Then select the cylinder, go inside scale and make it down to like 0.01, 0.05, actually not 1. This is going to be 2. And then this is going to be 0.05 and 0.05. So now we have our text to work with. Then go to physics and simulate physics. Mass is going to be 100. In collision preset is going to go to custom. Let's first select the physics sector, then go back to custom, and then we don't want the camera to be here. Then save everything and put this tab in the world. Now if we play, we have these two things, and make sure that as thin as your stick is, it's going to be as much as resistance in the air. So you actually have to make a much more heavier stick as much as thin you make it. So make that sure. Make sure of that. Then let's press R. Because it is much more thinner, it's doing that thing. Well, what you can do is put this physics control target over here, and then from the hit actor we are going to get this control target. So if you expand this says in control target is physics control target. So go to your star and in variable add control target data. Then in here search for physics control target and save it. Now in default value, save the positions that you want for this specific object. Okay, then what you can also do is make this a, let's say, a master pickable. Okay, so this is a master pickable object. We can pick this object, and we can change this cylinder to be something else. So go to construction script, grab your cylinder, and say set static mesh. Before you do this, make sure to say promote the condition to a variable and say won't edit properties. Okay, and this is just so that it doesn't run every single time. Then in the true, press this, and in this new mesh just promote this to a variable and say this component mesh. And grab your control target data and promote to a, you don't really need to promote this to a variable. This will appear every single time. So grab this and category say properties and put all of them in properties. Compile and save. So when you do that, you can see that we cannot see our code because the edit properties by default is true. We want this to be false. So now we have our pole. Now what we actually want to do is check what exactly are the dimensions. So go back here, go to control target data and put something like negative . Okay, we cannot get it if we are not using this. Get control. Yeah, we cannot get it until and unless it's the pickable. Well, it makes things even much easier. So move everything here, grab this, move it back. And what we are going to do after the true, we are going to get the hit actor, and then we're going to make this equal to something. Yeah. Now, too many things. Too many things. I think we have to do this. So we have to cast to master pickable, and every child of this will be considered as this. So cast to master pickable, and from master pickable we are going to get control target data, and then just plug this in. So basically what's going to happen if you try to pick up something that is not master pickable, it's not going to work. But let's say that you want to pick up the master pickable, then my god, why is it? And it works, and it works really bad. This should be negative 0.5. So as you can see, after changing few values in the settings, we can change this. Now you might say like, okay, but why can't we pick up this? And I personally would really like to pick this physical object up and not a actor in the world. We actually want the physical objects to get picked up. So it can be a bit tedious process to do that. So right now we are getting a component and we are just attaching that component. And if the component is not master pickable, we are just not picking it up. But to actually check that this object that we have contains these things, or this object contains these things, we have to do something as which called tag registration. What basically tag registrations are is that this is just my made-up name. It's not actually real name. What you have to do is select each object that you actually want to get picked up. Go into search and search for tags. And in tags, you will see actor, and in advanced, you see tags. In actor tags, select mode, and in the index, just say that this is a cylinder. So as you select cylinder in your tags, you can also give it one more thing, which is grabbable. So you actually need these two tags to be existed in your case. You actually don't need pickable and remove it or keep it. It's up to you as much conditions you want to put in your project. For now, we are just going to work with cylinder. Let's go over and make this one cube. Okay, so now what we are doing is, instead of casting, which I also hate myself, I really don't want to cast anything. What we are doing, we are getting the control target. We are making the control target. And then in the target position, in everything, we are going to select it based on whatever a tag the actor has. So we are going to get the hit actor, then say get tag, select this and this node and make this a collapse. You can make this collapse macro as well. I'm going to make this collapse, and this is going to be to control target calculations. And now we are going to change these. What you can do is, before even making it, we can grab this and say select them and remove this option, control, and put this here. And now what we can do is, depending on these tags, we change this. Okay, this is actually going to be, we can make this enum. Oh, amazing idea. What you can do is go into content, and in physics control system, we are going to create another enumeration. So right here, go to blueprints and select enumerations, and here we're going to say pickable object. Okay, and in here we are basically going to type in the names of the pickable object. Like in here, we want the cylinder and we want cube. So now if we go to the corrector, go to target calculations, and now in the index we can change this via the pickable object. And here just type physics picables. And now what we are actually going to do is grab this and put this in index. So let's say that you have multiple of these cubes and as many entries as you have in pickable objects, as many as selects that you can have here. So it doesn't depend, like if you have a boolean node, then it will only have true and false, but here you can have as many objects as you want. Now what we need to do is from the tags we need to get, okay, which one is cylinder and which one is something else. So from the tags we are going to say contain, and does these tag contain, let's say, cube. So now I'm just making a really simple one. Where we just select the cube, and if it's cube we check this, and if it's not the cube then we check this, basically. And you can go and put these things, but it doesn't really matter. So what we actually have to do is, yeah, I'll probably put this in here. Okay, I think I know what we have to do. Thing that we have to do is go over here and make this a boolean. And in boolean, in the input we are going to get a node, and if it's true that means we are working with a cube, and if it's false that means we are working with a cylinder. In this case, if let's say you have multiple objects, then you have to change all of these things depending on those. And then here, after we do this, we have to in true get the physics pickable and basically set them. So for true we want to set this for cube, for false we want to set this for cylinder, and then it's going to from here then it's going to check these things. Put these here. Compile and save. Now you can go back to event graph. One thing that I would recommend that you do, instead of making this a macro, probably make this a function. So select everything, Control exit, and create a new function calling some calculation. So calculations, and if we put this here, you can basically do this, and then we can get a return node. Add both of them, and then add this as well into the return. And this will be the target control. And what you can do with a function that you cannot do with the other thing is that you can make this pure. Compile. Okay. Yeah, you actually need this one. So this will be actor. And now if you go outside, I'm going to delete this. Now what you can do, just connect this to true and get the calculations, and then here you attach the actor, and then you get the control target. To be sure, we are going to make these not just 0, 0. In cylinder, we want the target position of let's say Z to be 100, and in cube we want the target orientation. Okay, that won't work. Let's put the target position Y to be 100. Okay, so now if we, maybe one more thing, let's keep this as 0. So if we pick up the cube and it's in the same place as before, then we did the right thing. So if you pick up the cube, it's in the right place, so we did the right thing. And if we pick up the cylinder, as you can see, it's not in the right place, it's in the 100 values forward in the z-axis. That means we did the right thing. So now the code being a complete mess in this whole mess is just a simple node of calculations. And now you can pick up a simple object in the world. You don't actually need it to be an actor or something. And yeah, so that's how you can pick up stuff as an actor or as a complete physical object in the world by using tags. Now for sure that if you go so for sure if you go, you cannot pick up this thing, or maybe you can, who knows. How you can pick this up? Oh yeah, because we can pick this up, and in the pickable object the cylinder is the first one. I actually want this to be none. I know. And put this none as the first. So if we go back to the third person character, go back to the calculations, right here it's getting these things, so we are going to move them down and grab this, duplicate it, and put that in now. So yeah, if you are making enumerations, make sure that you have one option for none. Either like some main tag will have a default value that should not be a default value, and those stuff can happen. Now you can pick this up and it will still go. No, it's there. Why? In cylinder, does this have any actor? Nope. Blueprint, this is what we set. What if we change this back to something like 50? Yeah, work. What about you? Same as before. Let's say that we put this in actor tag, we put this tag to the cube. Yeah. So why does none don't work? Why? Oh, as you can see here in the calculations, we get the branch, and in here we send the calculation. Oh my god, why we do this? Basically why we did this. So instead of getting the actor permanently, we can grab this and say get actor. Yeah, this one. Okay. So it should be exactly the name as the calculation. So actor. And if you are in latest versions of Unreal, you will see this like a symbol of F. That means this variable is just inside a function and not outside. So after you do this, grab everything, then put this, duplicate this down here. Just a boolean. And now we need to know if this contains cylinder. So first, if the actor is cube, then place cube. If the actor is cylinder, then place cylinder. But let's say that actor is nothing. Then we want to set this as none. Compile, save. And now if this actor doesn't have anything, then it's going to use the same thing. Same values. Now we can go back to our project and plug the released key back in this code, which releases the stick. I don't know for what reason. Oh my god. For long as I hold it, it stays, and as I drop it, it goes. We can also do the same thing with cube. And here we go. Now I'm also going to show you how you can pick up, skeletal meshes. So go inside your pickable objects. Made an enumeration for skeleton meshes. So skeletons. Save it. And then go to basically go over here. Go to calculations. Cube pickup. Before we even do cube, go to grab these, duplicate, make another boolean, put this in false, then set this to be skeletons. It's actually going to work. You don't really have to worry about it, I think. So if you have your parent bone attached, you have your component attached, and then you have your actor doing these things. And if your skeleton mesh is a physics body indeed, then I presume if you go to content drawer, go to content, grab your third-person character blueprints, duplicate this, put this guy here. Then in here, go to mesh. We say to simulate physics. Keep this as a simulate body. Then we press. He does some weird things because for one thing, it is, I guess, yeah, it is initializing physics. But in this character, we don't want to initialize physics. We do this again. It drops down. We go, we press R, and then probably it should have clicked. Oh yeah, it is clicking. One thing that we need to do is go back to this mesh, and we want anything that two collisions to not collide with our camera. Go to camera, go in everything, change that setting. And now if we hold, we grab a bone in the skeleton mesh that was the closest to us, and we just keep on holding it. So if we hold it, then we hold his hand, and yay, you keep it. Oh my god. And you just throw them. I am. Oh my god. This is like you can do this stuff like someone holding like you can hold someone's neck and you just move them around. This is cool. Yeah, you can do so much procedural things with physics that it's kind of mind-blowing in Unreal. Most fun is when you pick up his hand and do that stuff. And also the head. It looks like we are doing some real scary stuff. So yeah. Now we have our physics object completely enabled. We know how we can grab stuff. We know how we can release stuff. You can also, instead of putting this as a release option, you can make another key, and when you press that key, only then that it will release this. And yeah, and just with these few nodes, we have our grabbing enabled.